just introduce yourself to everybody and go
Sure.
around?
Lisa and Alice and everyone, thank you for hosting us. I'm Scott Wands. I'm the Director of Grants and Programs at Connecticut Humanities. We are the state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities, and we are the group that helps to connect our state and its residents to information and stories about who we are as a people and where we've come from and where we're going. We're a grant funder, and we have been doing a lot of partnership with Liz Shapiro, who you'll meet in a moment here, in the Office of the Arts, especially during the onset of the pandemic here. We have released $16.1 million worth of operating support, and we'll talk more about that. And as a result of that, we've been gathering data from the 632 recipients of those grant funds to help continue to make the case for support going forward. So let me introduce my partner in crime at Connecticut Humanities, Leanne Partridge, next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leanne Partridge. I'm the Grants and Programs Assistant at Connecticut Humanities. And I'll throw it to Howard next.
Oh, me? Okay. I'm Howard Lasser. I volunteer as the Executive Director for the Brookfield Craft Center. Don't know what else you need to know at that point, but I'm pleased to be here. Hi to people that we've seen via virtually over the last 2 years.
Howard, you want to pick someone?
Oh, Liz, you want to introduce yourself? Not that I think it need any introduction.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Howard. I'm Liz Shapiro. I'm the director of the Connecticut Office of the Arts and the State Historic Preservation Office, and I work really closely with Scott and Leanne every single day. And I will throw it to Joanne.
Oh, hi, I'm Joanne Torti, the Executive Director of ASAP. We're an arts-infused education organization based in Washington, Connecticut. However, we serve over 100 towns in the state, and typically 10,000 students a year. I will pass it to, see who else is here. Did we do Alice? Emily.
Hello, I'm Emily Denaro. I'm the AEP6 coordinator on behalf of the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut with Lisa. I'm actually, as you'll see, I'm going to do my presentation via video, so I'm actually shocked that my internet is working today. But ahead of time in the chat, I'm actually going to put in some contact details and links that you can sort of reference a little bit later. But nice to meet everyone. And I will throw it to Neviana. I hope I pronounced your name correct.
That was really good.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Neviana. I'm the co-founder of Aquila's Nest Vineyards in Newtown, Connecticut. And I'd be happy to present to you soon and talk about data. And I am logged in with my phone, so let me check in here. Did Geraldine had a chance to present herself?
Yes.
Geraldine.
So much. I'm Geraldine Valentine.
I'm Jay Masensik. We're first thankful for currently working on an artist respond grant from the Office of the Arts, but I guess we came along this afternoon, but I think we may be in the wrong place. But we're gonna hang in for a little bit of time to see if we have anything to add or whatever's in the conversation. But again, we're just not sure we're in the right place at the right time. But thanks for having us.
Is there a reason why you think you're in the, were you expecting a different topic today, or did you sign up?
It seems like it may be more for organizations with more data to provide to the people in the conversation. We're just, I don't mean to minimize what we feel about ourselves, but we're just two photographers that go out and I always say creep around, mostly around the city of Bridgeport taking photographs, but
Got it.
Always wanting to learn something also.
Well, welcome. You're welcome to stay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that's everyone. So should we start? I guess we'll start with Neviana first with kind of what you want to talk about data, Neviana.
Sure. So again, I'm Neviana. I'm the co-founder of Aquila's Nest Vineyards in Newtown, Connecticut. Aquila's Nest is an experience-focused winery and event venue that opened during the pandemic a year and a half ago. And throughout this year and a half, we've had the opportunity to partner with a lot of artists in the area. We partnered with the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut in 2 beautiful exhibitions for outdoor sculptures. And we're continuing that partnership into this year with another exhibition that will start in May and end in November of this year. So we're very excited about that. I'm also the principal product manager for the analytics team at the wealth management business of Bank of New York Mellon in New York City. I've been working in the data analytics space for over 10 years now. Before, I used to have very different or various roles at General Electric in various offices in Connecticut. Now, the topic on hand in here is how do we use data to gain new insights in the art space. And I think it's actually a great initiative in the art space because the arts organizations usually have very little data to base their decisions on, because it's kind of a space that you don't generally collect a lot of data unlike the finance industry or like healthcare. I feel like in the arts, people do not provide and also seek for a lot of information. And the more we focus on this topic, I think the insights that will be derived will be very beneficial, especially when it comes to understanding like the artist landscape in the local community, understanding the number of exhibitions that they were part of, understanding how well attended these exhibitions were in partnership with local businesses, how many local businesses actually partnered with us and supported the local artists and the local organizations. And then bringing that data together, you can make a case to get more grants. You can also understand, what is the kind of spread of the diversity of your artists as well. Are you supporting a certain type of artist more than another? And you can kind of slice the data in different ways to gain a little bit more depth into your operations, to provide more insights into creating that story, to make a case for enriching your offerings by again getting more grants, getting more support from local businesses, and so on. One way, for example, that I've worked in big corporate environments and a big bank at the moment, but one way that I use data and analytics in my own small business is actually very, very helpful. For example, in last year, the 2021, I can share with you some metrics that I use to actually now predict and analyze how I'm going to run my business in 2022. So in 2021, I'm looking here, we were open for 191 days of the year.
Oh dear.
I think, she's
Oh,
back
there
on.
she is.
Hi, Neviana. You froze up and now you're
Side-
sideways.
I'm sideways now?
Yes,
Okay.
there you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Okay.
The last thing we heard was that you were open for 191 days, and that was, I think, when you cut off.
All right. Sounds good. So that will give you some insight that we are actually a seasonal business. Our vineyards open days vary throughout each of the 4 seasons, and we're really like weather dependent. So out of those 191 days, we had thousands of visitors that I kind of have an approximation of. But the most important thing is that those visitors came from 280 plus cities. And just to give you kind of a background, Connecticut only has 160 municipalities. So the vineyard was visited by a lot of people from all over Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, and New Jersey, which I was happy to see because we're, our focus is for our place to be visited, to be a regional tourist attraction. And out of those 191 days that we were open, we had 172 musical acts. So as you can see, we supported the arts, and for this case, I'm just highlighting the musicians that we had in the vineyard. Out of those 172 musical acts, we had 80 artists or bands. And total musicians, I can approximately say we supported 120 musicians during 2021, which is a big number considering, that we were pretty new as a business. And I'm very proud of that because supporting local art is one of our main kind of goals. So apart from the 120 musicians that we supported through 2021, we also held 5 art walks to display or to walk our guests and showcase the outdoor sculptures that we partner with the Western Connecticut, the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut. And we had 87 participants in those 5 walks that we held. And this year, once we create the new exhibition, we will host a lot more, at least 5 to 7 sunset walks in the vineyard. And we will collect the data of how many participants we get there. And hopefully we can partner with the Cultural Alliance this year to provide some more data to them as part of this survey. Some other ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Neviana. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is pretty important. And the thing is that we are able to collect the data directly from our website. And if, let's say, the Cultural Alliance would want to create a form that they want to ask some questions from the people that sign up for these walks, it's very easy for me to go and, include that form in the sign up process. Because as a business owner that has this data and analytics IT background, I've been able to incorporate a lot of kind of automation and system focus in running my business, which has kind of helped me a lot in dealing with those usual manual processes that other businesses don't really know how to manage in a more digitized fashion. So yeah, and I believe that the data that we'll hopefully collect and provide to the Cultural Alliance will be very helpful to understand what is, let's say, the goal of the people visiting the vineyard specifically to see the outdoor sculptures. What is their interest? What is kind of their background in a way? And then also that could be helpful because we want to also attract the diverse artists, that present their, pieces of art in the vineyard. And we've tried to do that a lot. I focused a lot to have, women artists and women singers, women performers, Black, Hispanic artists as well, to really showcase the diversity in art as well in the vineyard. So I think there's a lot of potential in this field to capture and drive new insights. It's a field that has just started to understand the importance of data, and hopefully we'll see its benefits once it has more data to drive some more insights into.
Thank you, Neviana. That's you provided a lot of interesting information, so I really appreciate your perspective on that. I guess we'll go with Scott, and then after everybody speaks, we can open it up for questions and discussion. So, Mr. Wands, would you like to continue the discussion?
Thanks. Let me just give a little bit more background and then happy to answer more questions as we go along. And I will share screen at a couple of moments here just to highlight some things with some visuals as well. So as I said, the state of Connecticut, because of the pandemic, made available to cultural organizations to help make it through and to bring back jobs, lost due to the pandemic, keep people employed overall, support K-12 education, and improve our state's digital infrastructure. They made, over the course of the 2-year biennial budget, in Connecticut we have 2-year budgets, $30.7 million for the cultural sector, of which 80% went out in operating support and an additional 15% to support organizations that support those organizations. That resulted in 632 operating support grants this year to organizations all across the state. And our goal right now at Connecticut Humanities, in partnership with the Office of the Arts, is not just to support the organizations in the here and now, but find ways to help make the case that this is funding that needs to continue and we're transforming the state. But the only way we can really help to demonstrate the transformation that we know will happen with this funding is if we've got good data to be able to share with the legislators about the impact that this is happening statewide, countywide, and in their communities. And that's why from the outset, Connecticut Humanities and the Office of the Arts, in partnership with our statewide and regional partners like the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut, have been emphasizing not just getting funding to as many eligible organizations as possible, but learning as much about where they were at the start of the pandemic, and over the course of the 2 years that we know we'll have funding, continuing to assess and get data on where they've gone and how the work that they do has improved their own operations and in the audiences that they serve. So I'm going to share my screen here and go to a couple of websites I want to highlight. Get this going. All right, can you see the CT Cultural Funds? All right, so this is a landing page where you can find information about all the recipients of this funding. cthumanities.org, under grants, we have put all the information for the CT Cultural Fund. You can get the full list of awards, and I won't go into that, but you can also on the left side get resources that we're creating for grantees and the ways we're sharing this data with the public. All of the organizations, when they received a grant, were required to do a survey that we launched with Wilkening Associates and their consulting friends, Susie Wilkening. We intentionally made the application on the shorter side just to get the information that we needed to be able to distribute funds appropriately. And then we followed up at the same time as contract with a survey, which gets into information about what types of organization you are. And this is important because this was the first time we've had a comprehensive program like this that is not funding the arts separately from science, separately from children's museums. And we can really start to get counts and data on who our sector is writ large. Locations, counties, the basic demographics, but then we get into staffing. This lets us know how many people we're employing as a sector. And as a result of this funding, does that staffing increase with the use of these funds? Visitation, how many people are seeing us in person and virtual? Again, same thing. Can we see a bump from 2019 to 2021, which was the pandemic year we surveyed, to 2022 at the end of this year? We want to know a little about who is visiting us, from geography to age to ethnicity. How many of the visitors are older or younger visitors? And we're taking all this data that we're getting from the 632 grantees, and we're using it to create things like data stories here. So now we know as a sector, we're over 600 organizations large, just roughly half of them, a little bit more than half of them, meet the American Alliance of Museums definition for museum. So this is everything with museum in its name, to historic sites, historical societies, zoos, aquariums, arboretums. Another roughly third, a little less than a third, are performing arts venues, performing playhouses, ballets, orchestras, and 16% are other. And this is, as you can see on the side, things like cinemas or schools of the arts. We're able to say that, with in-person and virtual visitation, even though we were in a pandemic, we reached 7 million people in 2021. We employed as a sector, full-time, part-time, consultants, over 12,000 people. And we have a huge volunteer sector that's contributed over 1.2 million hours to our communities. we have broken out this data by county. And we know that the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut serves both Fairfield and Litchfield counties. So I've called up their data. You can see how they compare on the breakdown of organizations that we awarded 23% of the funds going to Fairfield County, the visitation numbers, and the same thing for Litchfield County organizations as well. And in some cases for Litchfield, where it's only 5% of the population in Connecticut, they receive 9% of the funds. So things that we can highlight, the counties can highlight, the orgs in those counties can highlight. But we're also highlighting other stories that this data is telling us. And impact from the pandemic was one of the first ones that we really focused in on. And in this case, we know that, and it's not a surprise, in-person visitation is down, and not a surprise that online engagement and virtual visitation is up. But we're still not whole. We served over 10.7 million engagements of the public we serve in all the ways we served them in 2019. And we're down roughly a third to 7.3 million in 2021. So again, this is the kind of things, because of the data we're collecting, that we're able to share with the state and say, hey, this funding needs to continue, because despite all the funding that we've received, we're putting our fingers on a dike right now. We're helping places not lose staff. We're helping places not close their doors for all time, but we're not back to where we were by far. And we're going to continue to work on helping tell those stories. We're giving tips and guidance to the grantees. We're not just asking surveys and walking away. So that's part of the reason we're here today. But also we're giving tips on our frequently asked questions about how to collect data. We're collecting, we're creating sheets and information about best practices on how you can collect data based on the questions we've been getting and the answers we're getting from our evaluation team. Things that they can deploy at their own sites, so you can help to collect this data going forward if you weren't collecting it. We want to be able to build up the confidence and the abilities of our sector to get more uniform data and be capable in deploying the surveys that we're looking for. And I'm going to share two things that I've not shared with other audiences today. Can you see the 22 broader population sampling now that I've switched to that window? Okay, so this is live in the field right now. We're not just surveying all the organizations that got funding. We're serving 1,000 people in Connecticut, general population, museum goers, concert goers, older, younger, people that maybe don't do cultural things at all, to figure out what they've done in the last 2 years, what kinds of activities they enjoy. And we'll get into things like how they hear about our events so we can help with marketing. How many times you've visited or maybe gone to things if they've said that they have gone to a museum, or how many concerts they've gone to. If they think that funding should continue to go to this sector. So we get into questions like, if I scroll down, are you a donor? What are the ways that we should be engaging with you in our content? The social impact. What are the ways that our organizations can have impact in your community, from raising diversity and cultural awareness, to attracting tourists, to engaging the public on critical issues? Do you think cultural organizations should be forums for civil discourse? What are ways that we can serve our communities best? Do you think organizations contribute to their communities' economies? Again, we're going to take all this data, match it up, and we'll do more data stories from what the general public says. So as we continue to advocate on your behalf, we're not just telling the stories that you're doing, we're talking to the public and getting data to support the work that you're all doing. So this is just a little bit about some of the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes. I'm not sure if Liz wants to add anything there, or say something additional, or if we want to move on to more questions from folks. But Liz, anything, is that a good sample? Okay. So that's why we're doing everything we're doing, and happy to answer more questions, and why we'll continue to help work with you all to get good data to work on your behalf.
Thank you very much, Scott. That was great. Very thorough. I appreciate that. And I think Lisa is going to start Emily's video.
Yeah, just a little bit of preface here. Emily mentioned earlier, so for those that missed it, she's been having Wi-Fi issues and actually surprised that she's on this call. So in anticipation of her not being on the call or being able to connect, she prepared this video. So it's going to sound a little weird because she's going to say, hi, sorry, I couldn't be there with you today, but she's here. We decided to run the video anyway.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Denaro, and I am the AEP6 Study Coordinator for the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut. I have been having some internet issues this week, unfortunately, so I have pre-recorded this introduction for you so you can still learn about this study. I am very confident that Alice or Lisa will be able to help you with any questions after the presentation, but if you would like to reach out to me, I'm going to have them put my email in the comments, and you can feel free to connect at any time. All right, let's get started. So in this introduction, I'm going to cover what is the AEP6 study, what is Americans for the Arts, the Cultural Alliance's role, the goals and benefits of the study, and also opportunities for you to get involved. So what is the AEP6 study? So this is the 6th annual Arts and Economic Prosperity Study, also known as AEP6, because that title is kind of a mouthful. And it is conducted by the Americans for the Arts to assess the economic impact of the nonprofit arts and culture industry. So AEP 5, which you may have taken part of a couple of years ago, was the previous study, and that documented the economic contributions of the arts in 341 communities and regions across the country. And this iteration aims to do the same. So I'm going to also have them put the link to the AEP 5 study in the comments, so you can review that and kind of get a better understanding of what the study is looking for. So this year, the study is especially important because we're dealing with the aftermath of COVID and determining, how we're going to recover. So by gaining insights into the economic impact of arts organizations, from job creation to locally generated revenue, we can really get a better understanding of our own communities and advocate for arts in the future. So who are the Americans for the Arts? So the Americans for the Arts is a nonprofit organization based out of Washington, D.C., whose mission is to build recognition and support for the extraordinary and dynamic value of the arts and to lead, serve, and advance the diverse networks of organizations and individuals who cultivate the arts in America. So they concentrate on advocacy, research, and leadership in order to forge connections between the arts, communities, and businesses to promote, support, and sustain the arts in the United States. So as the study progresses, they'll be collaborating with us to provide training, materials, and any other support that we need as we collect data. So how is the Cultural Alliance involved? So we're actually one of 375 local and state research partners assisting with the survey data collection for the upcoming study. So we'll actually be facilitating the ways in which the information is gathered. And we're going to do that in two different ways. First, we'll begin in May to conduct the audience intercept surveys, which seeks feedback from patrons, both local and visiting, to arts and cultural events within our coverage area. And that coverage area includes Bethel, Bridgewater, Brookfield, Danbury, New Fairfield, New Milford, Newtown, Reading, Ridgefield, and Sherman. So each 2 to 4 minute survey will be conducted by volunteers, and that's going to be done either by a tablet, paper intake, as well as QR code. And QR code is new this year, and that will allow patrons to take the survey at the event directly on their device, such as a cell phone. So the survey questions will focus on how participants have contributed economically to the area due to their attendance at the event, such as if they paid for a ticket, if they went out to dinner beforehand, if they had plans to do so afterwards, if they stayed at local lodging, that kind of thing. So we'll begin doing that, as I mentioned before, in May. And to collect these surveys, the Cultural Alliance will train volunteers and provide necessary materials and schedule a calendar of events in harmony with local organizations where we can interface with these attendees. So volunteers will be compensated with a small stipend for their time. And just so you know, to fulfill our quota, we will be gathering a minimum of 800 audience intercept surveys within this time frame. So we really need all of the help we can get to accomplish this goal, which I'll kind of talk about further down in our presentation. So the second form of information gathering will be done starting in January, and that will be the organizational surveys. So these surveys will be sent to eligible nonprofit arts and cultural organizations within the same regions I mentioned before, and they'll do a deeper dive into budget and attendance information, as well as cover diversity. Diversity will be something added to this study. I don't have all of the details yet because they have not been released to us, but it will be a nice addition to the information gathered during AEP5. So what are the goals and benefits? So the benefit of this survey to both the Cultural Alliance and to you is the value of the data provided. So these insights are not only helpful for you to gain a deeper understanding of local and state, economic landscapes, but even more importantly, the data is useful for fundraising, including, pitching to private donors, foundations, completing grant requirements. And because all of the information will be packaged in one beautiful study, it's really going to cut down on your research time too, which is just a great benefit. So if you would also like to partner with the Cultural Alliance to help facilitate these surveys, we can offer additional marketing and press for your organization if you would like to be a little bit more interconnected with the process. The study was supposed to start a little bit earlier in the year, but due to the pandemic, they did push it off a little bit. So right now, the estimated date of completion that will include all of the research gathering and review is September 2023. So that's also when the survey details and study details will be released, similar to what I mentioned before in that link from AEP5. So how can you help? We're really looking for community engagement to help facilitate these surveys. And really the number one thing that we're looking for at this moment are volunteers to assist with the audience intercept survey. That is really something that would be helpful to us. We are really seeking 2 people per event to go out, feel comfortable interfacing with attendees, drive that excitement about taking this survey, ensure that people feel comfortable providing information to a survey, which is going to be anonymous, and just help them really drive that understanding that if you're coming to an event, if you're excited about the arts and culture, this is a way to give back to the community by providing this economic detail. We also are looking for events at which we can hold these surveys. It's not going to be intrusive. We're going to have a little booth on the side, but really telling us, if you have any sort of events where we would be a really great fit. We're looking for events that have a sizable audience so we can hit our numbers as best as we can all at once. That would be fantastic. The other portion, getting the word out about the study through cross promotion, meaning social media, newsletters, even word of mouth. Just driving that excitement about this study is really important to allow folks to feel comfortable providing information, as well as the last part, ensuring organizations partner. So, whether you have a nonprofit that fits into that arts and cultural section that can take the survey on your own and provide that information about your organization, or if you're affiliated, maybe you're on a board or however you are connected, instilling the fact that participating in this survey is really going to be beneficial to not only the organizations themselves, but the community at large. That's really what we're looking for with community engagement. So that's really the AEP6 study in a nutshell. So I hope that this has been informative. Again, if you have any questions, hopefully at this point, Alice or Lisa may be able to field those on my behalf. But again, I am providing my email. Feel free to reach out to me. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I do. Thank you very much for attending this event. I hope you learned something about data and AEP6, and perhaps we'll be in touch. Thank you again.
Great. Thank you. So does anybody, I guess we can open it now for any questions or comments that anybody has after listening to all these perspectives on data.
Yeah, I just, is it limited? Do we want to do this survey only in person? I mean, I have a list of over 1,000 people who've taken classes here at the Craft Center. I have all their emails. Would it make sense to email them the survey? I mean, you won't get 100% support, response, but even if you get, 3-4% response, that's a significant number of input.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. I'm so shocked that my internet held out for this. I dipped out before and I'm just like holding in. So I'll talk fast. This survey actually needs to be done in person at the events. So that's why, unfortunately, we cannot use the list. But if you have any events, at which you have a sizable amount of folks to attend, that would be, a great way to capture those details. As I mentioned before, we're trying to get kind of larger events, I think would be the best bang for a buck in a way. But if you have anything smaller, when you have dedicated attendees, we could definitely chat and see if that's a possibility.
So even if Howard can't send it out to his email list, could he let people know that at this event it will be taking place and to encourage them to
Yes.
participate while they're there?
Yes, and that's a part of the partnership idea. If we do have partners that are working with us, but the messaging would go out. Let's say you have a large festival. We can promote the fact that the festival is coming up and that we also will be there to take the survey and in kind. That
Over
would
what
help.
period of time are we running this? Are we going to do the survey?
So it starts May 1st, a couple weeks, and then it's running till April of 2023.
I mean,
So
I'm just thinking, if we have the survey, I could put them in our studios and people could fill them out, in our classes, because, other than that, we really won't be having any large events at the craft center. I mean, we're having.
You have your open house at the end of the year, Howard. I'm hoping we can get on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not till November.
That's okay, if it's within that time, that window.
But I thought it was maybe I missed it. Yeah, I thought it was May
2022 till April 2023.
Oh, okay.
So you have basically a full
yeah.
year.
So I'm sorry, yeah, Lisa, when we do the open house in October and when we do we probably will, COVID notwithstanding, have a holiday reception, and we usually get 200-300 people there.
Yeah, so we definitely need to put that on the schedule. But to Scott's point, I think we should also set up some sort of communication plan for our partners, and Brookfield Craft Center is already registered and signed up. But to make it easy for them with some language to be able to send out to their constituents and patrons to let them know about this data study. That way, Howard, in advance, they could be a little bit prepared, and coming from you, which is a place where they trust and support, it could go a long way.
Yeah, no, definitely, we'll do whatever we can.
So is there a list of organizations that are participating? Is that list accessible so we can see that?
We have a few of them on our website, Joanne, so we can send you that link.
The link is actually in the chat. So it's the last link that I put in the chat, so you can see who the partners are there.
Yeah, and we would love ASAP to join.
ASAP.
Sorry, ASAP. ASAP. I don't know why I do that. Well, I know why I do that, but I don't know why I actually follow through on what I'm thinking. I do that often. Anyway, sorry.
No, fine. So, but is there a master list of all the participating organizations, Scott or Liz?
So, Joanne, I assume you mean for AAP6. So
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? So
Yes.
that would be me, not Scott. So, what we've done is we've combined a whole bunch of lists, right? So we have lists that we have, it's essentially a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet was created looking at all of our past grant award recipients, all of Connecticut's past grant award recipients, Connecticut Humanities, sorry, all of the past participants in AEP 5. And then those lists were circulated to each of our DRSOs, and there's 8 of them, as starting points for their regions. They're not supposed to be comprehensive, right? So, in theory, oh, and then there's one other source, sorry, Creative Ground, which is a website of arts organizations that is run by the New England Foundation for the Arts. We have a download of their Connecticut organizations. So that all of those are merged into sort of, here is what we think the cultural landscape of participants in this particular study will look like. And again, this is one of those times when it is being run by Americans for the Arts. So we're looking for arts organizations, not organizations who don't spend more than 51% of their budgets on arts related activities. So that's where each DRSO has been given a place to start. And then any organization on that list is considered to be a partner because they will be asked to, considered to be a participant because they will be asked to help in data collection and to inform the study. But each region is sort of doing that on its own. How that's happening within each region is doing it within its own. So Emily's approach might be slightly different, but the goal is to collect as much data as possible. And I actually had to run out to take a call while I was listening to Emily's video, which I thought was really good, Emily. And so the idea is there's a certain number of surveys as participants that we collect, like we're guaranteeing a certain number of data points to put into the mix as part of our participation. So there's lots of room for lots of data points. We can overachieve. I like it when Connecticut is an overachiever.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, in my mind, it's more for me than anything else, but there are two different approaches going on here with AEP6. There's the data collection by organizations, and when I'm reminded, by points that Liz was just talking about, if I think for our region, there's about 116, between 120, 140 organizations that are on that list that we're vetting and making sure all the contact information is correct and all of that, who are considered participants of that organizational data points. So they will all receive an invitation ultimately to participate in collection of data. So that's that strategy, that's that approach. What we're talking about, or what we were focused on earlier, was partners. We're signing up partners locally to be able to collect data points on site at events. The audience intercept survey is the other approach. So there's kind of two different strategies that are happening at the same time.
Anyone else? Any questions or comments? No? Okay. Well, I guess we can wrap this up unless you have anything else you want to add, Lisa, before we end.
No, I don't. I just want to, because, I want to thank everybody that's here. We're kind of considering this as our core group right now. But like I said, there's somewhere between 120, 140. So there's obviously a lot of organizations that need to hear this message. And we are very determined and we'll set a course to make sure that this conversation is going to continue so that we can reach as many organizations as we can. So don't be surprised if you see that the awareness is being raised on this topic of data collection. It is kind of our priority for us for 2022. So thank you all for being a part of this initial conversation, and maybe for some conversations to come in advance. I want to thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to our speakers. We really appreciate, your input and, trying to get excitement behind collecting this data and understanding the importance of it. So, and thank you for coming, everyone. So we can say goodnight.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest
Thanks,
of your
Lisa.
evening.
Have a great
Thank you so
night.
much for taking the time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.